Alright, it is time for the second half of the Goku vs. Superman series by RevoluShane. And, man, I said at the beginning that his opinions are his own. And I respect his opinions. And yes, a case could be made that Ultra Instinct Goku could defeat pre-crisis Superman, but damn did he lowball pre-crisis Superman. I'm sorry, there's no other way to say that. He straight up fucking lowballed pre-crisis Superman. But we'll get into that here in just a minute. He said earlier in some of his other videos, he mapped out how these matches were going to go. He has changed that a little bit, and that is not a bad thing at all. When he started this, Ultra Instinct Goku did not exist, and now he does. To stick with what he said would be kind of dull and a little bit outdated. So I guess we're going to start off here with this. Since he said it early, I want to go ahead and get this out of the way.
Comics was incredibly inconsistent in terms of feats. We've actually seen Silver Age Superman be beaten by a proton gun, yet his high-end feats are absolutely incredible.
There has been several lowball feats of Superman that I've made videos about and have debunked. I haven't got on these two right here. However, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this now. Terra Man was pretty damn powerful, and his weapons were not ordinary weapons. So where Goku would get hurt by a bullet, that's not necessarily what's going on here. Also, this brand right here on Superman was draining him of his power. Terra Man was pretty OP. However, in the end, Superman did kick his ass. Alright, moving on. I have a lot of ground to cover right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just chop up all the downplay he made in this little section, and then I'll cover it all at once. So here it is.
Whilst chasing his cousin Kara, Silver Age Superman was travelling at such a velocity that it was able to shatter confining barriers of 3- and 4-dimensional fabric. Even before he did so, he had already broken through light speed, traversing the entire universe in a short space of time, proving that he is in fact massively faster than light. Of course, he accelerates to a velocity so fast, ultimately allowing him to time travel. This was nothing new for Silver Age Superman, as he had been doing this since he was, well, Superboy. But on this particular occasion, you could call him Limit Breaker Superman, simply because after being stopped by the Spectre revealed that he was travelling faster than he ever has before. And there was a good reason to why the Spectre decided to stop him. The Spectre revealed that while Superman was travelling through time, he had travelled so fast and so far that only one barrier remained, and that if he'd have broken that barrier, that he would have destroyed the entire 3- and 4-dimensional fabric of the universe. Even the Presence stepped in. Through sheer velocity and speed alone, this puts Superman's attacking potency at universal plus levels, and pits his speed at massively faster than light. In the comic it does state that he breaks the bonds of infinity, but it's pretty much impossible to travel at infinite speeds, especially considering a few panels later he's literally outsped by the Spectre. But I have no doubts, whilst he's fiercely chasing his cousin Kara in order to save her, that he may be travelling close to immeasurable light speed.
The first one here isn't wrong, it's just lowballed. He did cross the entire universe, but it wasn't just one universe. Superman crossed multiple universes in this comic. Granted, it did take him a little bit to reach that speed, but once he did, he was crossing universes. Given the context, Superman was crossing universes, and when he reached the speed he needed to reach, he was crossing universes in seconds. The ultimate destruction highly suggests that Superman nearly destroyed the entire multiverse, given that he crossed every single barrier. He broke the bounds of infinity. The only barrier left was the God realm. There are a lot of feats that show that pre-crisis Superman was consistently universal to universal plus. This just happened to be his best feat ever, and he reached enough speeds to nearly destroy the entire DC multiverse, with the exception of the God realm.
In the comic it does state that he breaks the bonds of infinity, but it's pretty much impossible to travel at infinite speeds, especially considering a few panels later he's literally outsped by the Spectre.
And the fourth one here, you lowball the bonds of infinity feat, which I think that is very dishonest of you. I'm going to have to jump to your last video here, which I haven't got to yet, but I'm going to have to borrow a clip from it just to highlight something.
In the Dragon Ball world is a metaphysical energy that has never been stated to have any dimensional boundaries in terms of destructive capacity.
Do you see what you did? You have no problem saying that Goku did it, because that's what the storyline says. But when it says Superman did it, you have to say, no he didn't, because Spectre beat him there. Spectre was following orders by the Presence. The Presence is omnipotent. So if the Presence wants the Spectre to stop Superman, then Spectre is going to stop Superman. Spectre is OP. He's pre-crisis Superman times 200 in this timeline at least. So that's very, very, very poor lowballing on your behalf. It's dishonest. This was pre-crisis Superman's greatest feat ever. You could still make an argument, if you wanted to, that Ultra Instinct Goku could beat him. But for you to deny pre-crisis Superman of this, you lowballed him. Pre-crisis Superman nearly destroyed the DC multiverse, and you lowballed him. And for anybody that would think that I am wrong about Superman crossing universes, well, Shane himself confirms in this video that that is something that Superman can do.
Superman, in a short space of time, actually flew to a different universe to sneeze and destroyed the solar system there. Now, the observable, I know to a lot of you that might sound ridiculous, and believe me, even I have a hard time believing it, but that is the story we've been told. That's how we've been led to believe through the story of Dragon Ball. That's how power progression, that's how key increases increase power. Now, Goku being quite at that level has never been supported, but it's never quite been contradicted either. I mean, don't blame Dragon Ball fans for believing in this system that was literally implied to us since early Dragon Ball. Blame Akira Toriyama. I know it seems unfair because Goku has no feats to back that up, and I do empathise with that viewpoint.
So, Skillet from Beerus. The only reason, and I know I've made this spiel already, but I'm going somewhere different with it now. The only reason I have issue with that is, again, he wasn't consistently that strong. However, let's do that. Let's scale it from Beerus, that he's constantly getting stronger and he's multi-universal at this point. If you view Goku that way, then yes, he's definitely a force to be reckoned with, and he could one-shot a lot of fiction. The problem is, you don't see that out of him. I mean, if you just watch the series, what I see when I watch Dragon Ball, and admittedly, I don't watch it like every episode, but I've watched it. I've watched a lot of episodes. Sometimes I'll watch about 3 or 4 episodes in a row. What I see when I watch Dragon Ball is Goku constantly getting his ass kicked, and then the fanboys hitting YouTube and talking about how he's multi-universal. But, I mean, so you're saying blame Toriyama. It seems to me that Toriyama disagrees with his fan base. At times, Goku is powerful as hell. At other times, he isn't. Goku is Rocky to me. Goku is Rocky Balboa. I mean, Rocky is a 2-time world champion in his storyline. So, Rocky's a really good fighter, you know, in his storyline. Goku was that guy. He's the underdog who has to overcome odds, overcome obstacles, and I don't mean to sound like Screw Attack, but overcome limits and win. That's what he has to do. I'm not calling Superman limitless, because most incarnations are not limitless. In fact, I dare say no incarnations of Superman are limitless. But I mean, Goku is built to be an underdog. That's what he is.
Instinct and literally beating a fully powered Jiren, not the awakened Jiren, fully powered Jiren, who was relative to Ultra Instinct Omen Phase 3 Goku and therefore a fully powered Beerus, if not stronger. So scaling him off of that, Ultra Instinct Goku had far surpassed multi-universal levels, and once again he actually continued to get stronger throughout this fight. He actually used a pure progress-like ability where he literally improved all of his abilities to beat an awakened Jiren who was even stronger than the fully powered Jiren.
Earlier, when I said that you could make a case for Ultra Instinct Goku beating Pre-Crisis Superman, this is it. This is the best argument. I know that a lot of Superman fans won't like to hear that, but it's true. Goku is pretty damn powerful when he's on target. When he's on, he's pretty powerful. Goku and Superman both have their inconsistencies. Both fan bases like to point out the other one's flaws. It's true though, both have their inconsistencies. Goku is pretty damn OP when he fought Jiren, because Jiren is crazy powerful. You've got Pre-Crisis Superman though, fighting the lats of Blackstar. Blackstar could easily destroy galaxies. She had all the power in the universe. She could have annihilated the entire universe. And she hit Superman with a force of 1,000,000 gravities. Superman came back from that. Also, an older Pre-Crisis Superman fought a weakened Anti-Monitor. And a weakened Anti-Monitor was still had enough universal power, and he hit Pre-Crisis Superman with that blast, and Pre-Crisis Superman still came back and whipped his ass. Also, old man Pre-Crisis Superman fought Post-Crisis Superman, and they put the universe in danger. The handbook even states that. In addition to all that, then you have the Big Bang feat, then you have him almost destroying the multiverse. This would be a good fight. I do lean towards Pre-Crisis Superman winning. I respect RevoluShane's opinion on the matter. His opinion is Ultra Instinct. My opinion is Pre-Crisis Superman. Okay. moving on to the 5th video, where we have Ultra Instinct Goku versus Superman Prime. The title is somewhat misleading in the sense that this is not really Superboy Prime. It is his Superman Prime incarnation, and that is not a complaint. Superboy Prime in itself has a handful of different incarnations through his timeline, which I highly recommend reading his story. It was amazing. It had a bit of a shit ending, but it was amazing. If I had to handpick a incarnation of Prime to fight against Ultra Instinct Goku, it would be Superman Prime. This is the one who's near flawless, and he was just a badass in his short-lived comic run. He was awesome. So, let's dig into this thing.
Vulnerability to it. He has proved that he has resistances to telepathy, telekinesis, reality warping, anti-monitor. The guy even withstood attacks from the anti-monitor. Granted, it was a far weaker anti-monitor than we're used to, but it's still impressive. So as we've just discussed,
it's also worth pointing out that that anti-monitor that blasted Superboy Prime he drew all the power in the universe. He hit him with a universal blast. I know that I used this feat talking about pre-Crisis, but Golden Age Superman and Superboy Prime were together when the anti-monitor did this blast. He hit both of them with this blast.
Superboy Prime is already a really powerful character, at least comparable to Silver Age Superman, even in his prime, and I'd personally say he's stronger. Superman Prime is a lot stronger than Superboy Prime. However, the Superman Prime we're going to talk about is the one that everybody and their mum brings to a debate when we're discussing Superman Prime, and that is the version of Superman Prime that appeared in Countdown to Final Crisis.
Just a question here. You know, Superman Prime had a very short-lived run in comics. And Chuck the Cybercloak reviewed him, and a few others have reviewed him. And it seems like almost every one of them ignore the fact that he completely annihilated the entire Justice League of Earth 15. I mean, walked through them like they were nothing. Just wondering why that's ignored. It's not really relevant to the video. It's one of his lower things he did, but I mean, he completely annihilated the whole lot of them. Just saying.
Trapped Mr. Mxyzptlk, who has on occasion literally wiped out the multiverse for fun and literally restored it within a moment's thought. Even the best feats from Dragon Ball Super, including Zeno and Super Shenron, pale in comparison to the feats accomplished by Mr. Mxyzptlk. Based on current feats so far,
just a little FYI here, the scans that Shane is using of Mitzi here are from Cosmic Adventure Supergirl, issue 6. And in this one, Mitzi is actually twice as strong as he normally is. He's normally 5th dimensional, he's 10th dimensional in this storyline. And out from the multiverse comes Cosmic Adventure Supergirl, and she becomes pretty much hyperversal to maybe multiversal to hyperversal, but she emerged from the entire DC multiverse. I'm just bringing that up pretty much to show that this Supergirl would also solo a competent Dragon Ball universe. It's not relevant to the story at all. It's just interesting that he would use this scan. Okay, carry on.
Dimensional Imp would literally solo the whole of Dragon Ball unless you take Toribot into the equation. Well, Superman Prime in this issue literally entraps the 5th Dimensional Imp on the source wall and then literally proceeds to stomp a mud hole in him when the fifth dimensional imp refuses to grant Superman Prime his magic. So if you take this fight for face value, you would be led to believe that Superman Prime has surpassed the fifth dimensional imp in terms of power, which has led a lot of people to suggest that the Guardian Amp Superman Prime is literally at mid to high multiversal levels of power. However, after the fallout of the Day of Vengeance and Infinite Crisis storylines, we know that the fifth dimensional imp has been depowered severely. After the Day of Vengeance Infinite Crisis fallout, magic's effects on the multiverse have been nerfed, and this even affects the fifth dimensional imp himself. Magic is literally the source of the imp's power, and the removal of this magic literally left him nearly powerless. He is still capable of magic, but not to the levels that he was capable of before, and eventually he is almost killed by a villain called Ruin, who is literally just a human being using technology that's capable of destroying the current Superman in question, which is a Superman far less powerful than Superman Prime. Eric Hamilton is not a multiversal threat, far from it. He's not even universal, not even galactic. He is weak. He's only a threat to Superman in this story because the suit he wears can fire red sunlight. So Mr. Mixyez-Pitalik is pretty weak without his source of power, his magic. And then of course in Countdown to Final Crisis, he has literally been entrapped on the Source Wall, not particularly by Superman Prime, but by Anataz Arataz. In this sequence of events, Superman Prime literally says to Mr. Mixyez-Pitalik that her power is not as powerful as his power, which literally goes to prove that by the fact she was able to entrap him in the first place, he is not at his regular power. He even comments that he is too punch drunk to even summon magic in the first place, and it was Anataz Arataz that saw to that. Superman Prime even tries to kill the imp, but fails. Regardless, he does savagely beat down the imp, and in itself is impressive, but to say it's mid-multiversal levels to high multiversal levels is appealing to ambiguity, considering in the arc prior to this one, he was literally almost killed by a city level being. Eventually Anataz does grant the imp his powers back, but as soon as she does so, the imp starts to travel back to the fifth dimension, so we don't get to see him with his powers fight against Superman Prime, but he does state on his way out that if he went back he could defeat Superman Prime, albeit when he gets back to the fifth dimension he literally cries to his girlfriend and asks her to seal off the fifth dimension because he fears Superman Prime, which goes to...
You know, I really have to give Shane a great amount of credit here. He actually did that quite well. He reviewed why Mitzi was weakened in Countdown. Most people don't do that. In fact, nobody I've ever seen took the time to explain why Mitzi was weakened. That was very good, Shane. He actually took the time to give the backstory as to why Mitzi was weakened. There are a couple of things I'd like to highlight here. One, Mitzi didn't state he could go back and whip Prime. Here's what's actually said. And it's interesting to me that Mitzi didn't want to go back at all. He wanted no part of Prime. And two, when he's in the fifth dimension, he's in fear. He's in pure terror. And he's wanting the fifth dimension sealed back up. And here's something else. The fact that Prime could put a hole in the fifth dimension says a lot for Prime's power. Is he fifth dimensional? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's some feats here that are really, really impressive by Prime. And it's kind of overshadowed at times that he beat up a weakened Mitzi. He did a lot of impressive things.
Captain Atoms, he has the punching force, the attacking potency of a Big Bang. He hits Superman Prime multiple times with this kind of punch, yet Superman Prime keeps coming back. However, he does state that those punches hurt him, really hurt. Monarch eventually defeats Superman Prime and Superman Prime reverts back into his Superboy state. However, being able to throw down with Monarch for at least a short amount of time is pretty impressive. However, whilst at the height of his Guardian Amp powers, we saw him walk comfortably on the Source Wall, beat up a fifth dimensional imp, travel to the fifth dimension itself, travel throughout the multiverse in a short space of time, beat up Monitor Solomon. I personally would say he's casually multiversal at the height of his powers, but as we saw, he eventually decreases in power if he's drawn into a serious fight. Well,
he literally left out the biggest part of the Monarch fight. I feel like he ignored it. I don't know. You remember that universe busting feat with Beerus and Goku that's talked about a lot, where they almost destroy an entire universe? Well, this fight is similar. Different, but similar. But there's a lot of differences, but here's one of the biggest differences. One of the biggest differences is they didn't almost destroy a universe. They did destroy a universe. Now granted, this was 100% because of Monarch's power. However, Superman Prime tanked the power head on. The explosion started right in his face. He tanked a universe explosion. And yes, he was weakening in this fight. He was getting weaker. But he was getting weaker, and he still tanked a universe explosion. Now I understand, it's Beerus had the power to destroy a universe, apparently him and Goku. And I understand there's some statements where, like, Kafka feels like that, she could destroy a universe. But they did destroy a universe. Monarch destroyed a universe when Prime unleashed his power. And Superman Prime tanked that entire power. Now, it's said by a lot of people this knocked him out, but there's actually nothing that states that. He went back to his lesser form, his Superboy Prime, and the adult him, the Time Trapper, sent him to another Earth. There's nothing that states that he was knocked out at all. With that said, also he didn't say that he was hurt from Monarch's punches. He said that he was hurt after Monarch gave him a taste of his power. So, I feel like this is a very important part. No matter how you scale Goku, I don't see how the hell he could possibly defeat Superman Prime. You might be able to make a case for Superboy Prime in one way or another, but there's no way. I don't believe he's beating Superman Prime.
Has an ability not a lot of people talk about, and that's an ability of pure progress. Upon powering up against Awakened Jiren, he surpassed Jiren by that much. He defeated Awakened Jiren in a very short amount of time.
I'm sorry that I'm not saying a whole lot about Goku in his 5th video here, but he mainly used the 2 ways to scale Goku case, like he did with the pre-crisis battle. However, there's an interesting point being made right here, and he's right. Goku can grow more powerful as the battle wages on. However, I don't believe that he has actually fought anybody with the killer instinct of Superman Prime. Now, he's fought planet busters. He's fought people that have wiped out planets. But I'm talking about just a head-on fight. Prime would go for the kill. A case could be made for Ultra Instinct Goku's speed. And we know at least it's Superboy Prime, after he fought that small army of speedsters very impressively. In the future, he created kind of a phobia for speedsters. He never really did well against speedsters after that fight. that's not a physical weakness, that's more of a mental weakness, but that would definitely be a factor. However, as Superman Prime, he never showed that weakness. He never encountered a speedster, but he never showed that weakness. I feel Goku is outmatched completely. If you're going to make a case for Goku, it would be his speed. But I don't see how he could damage him. And as stated, currently Ultra Instinct Goku lasts from like 30 to 45 seconds. He would tire out and Prime wouldn't. And even if he lost his form, he would still be Superboy Prime. And that would be more than enough to handle a Goku that's lost his Ultra Instinct form. I say Prime wins. I respect his opinion, but I just don't see how Goku would take this one. Alright, moving on to our sixth and final matchup of his series. Strange Visitor Superman versus Xeno Goku. This is a good solid video he made. He did not, I don't think at all, lowball Strange Visitor Superman. And it was very educational to me about Xeno Goku, because I didn't know shit about him, except for everyone talks about how powerful he was. There was a few things in question here, and he has Xeno Goku winning, and I kind of see his point. I really do. I think that this was a good video. I'm going to make a case where Strange Visitor Superman could win, but I thought he did a good video, and looking at this objectively, I see his point. But one thing he said is that Strange Visitor Superman would destroy Ultra Instinct Goku. And that should be noted. That's absolutely true. He'd one-shot him quite easily. I think that Strange Visitor Superman has been lowballed. He was lowballed by just a robot, putting him on the level with Infinite Zumatsu. He did merge himself with the universe, but Infinite Zumatsu did this with all his power, where Strange Visitor Superman did this with just a fraction of his power. And that's got a lot to do with the argument, I would say, where Strange Visitor Superman could win this battle because of his duplicates. If Xeno Goku is like mid 6th dimensional to high 6th dimensional, where Strange Visitor Superman may be low 6th dimensional, because it took him so long to get to that level, he could still probably use his duplicates, because they're almost in a way like a Infinite Zumatsu army, in the sense that they all could merge themselves with a universe. These little guys are all universal in theory. Now, only one of them held the universe together, and it is an assumption that they're all at the same power level. But if that's the case, then that would be a problem, I believe, for Xeno Goku. But with that said, let's dig into this. I'm not going to do what I normally do on Strange Visitor Superman. Sorry, my tongue got tied. I'm going to use a little bit of what Shane said to make a point about something. But he did a good job reviewing his feats. So I'm just going to highlight them here, and we'll go from there. Okay, let's talk Strange Visitor feats. In his short series here, you do get 3 timelines of Strange Visitor Superman. In 1939, he looks like his power levels are around that of Golden Age Superman. Himself, Batman, and Dracula fight Frankenstein's army, and it's said to be an unknown amount. and they seem to punch their way through all of them. Later, the next morning, in fact, a rocket launches and it knocks Superman back. It knocks him back because it's powered by red kryptonite, and Superman fails to save the ship, and this seems to be his only failure in life. Now you get something closer to the present. The year is 2013, and there is a party in Superman's honor. To speed this up, the giant statue blasts at Superman, and here he speed blitzes the statue, which turns out to be Mitzi. So Superman here is speed blitzing a fifth dimensional imp. It can be argued that Mitzi was just playing around, and it does seem that way. It implies that in the storyline, but it should be noted that he speed blitzed Mitzi. He enters the fifth dimension the same way Mitzi will, suggesting strongly that he is around the power level of Mitzi at this point, and that is freaking insane. From 1939 to 2013, his powers grew to the fifth dimension. That's crazy. He tried to enter a dimension that he couldn't, and Mitzi said that dimension would even hurt him, possibly kill fifth dimensional imps. And this is important because that's where his ship is. That ship entered that rim. When it lifted off, it got trapped in that rim somehow, and Superman wants to save those people, but he can't because he's not powerful enough. So you jump, and this, to me, this is insane, but billions upon billions of years later, meaning strange visitor Superman lived for billions upon billions of years later. Try to think about what number that would be, how crazy that is. That has to be some kind of durability feat. He outlives everything in the universe, including the gods, and you see he's created duplicates of many Superman, and with just a fraction of that power, he's holding the core of the universe together. That is crazy. When they finally let it go, the universe explodes, and you see that it's not even harming strange visitor Superman at all. He rips holes in the universe, and he crosses over to that higher dimension, is, Shane said, the sixth dimension. As impressive as these feats are, I would say that he is low sixth dimension. It took him an extremely long time to get to this level. So he's powerful. He's crazy powerful, but he wasn't like, obviously he wasn't born sixth dimensional. He had to work his way up to that point, and it took him a very long time to get there. So I accept this.
In this story, that the binding of reality was at its weakest point, whatever that means. So I think it's fair to say that low sixth dimensional is a fair representation of his power.
That makes sense to me. That's a reasonable, valid point being made here by RevoluShane. I think that should be accepted.
Dragon Ball Heroes, and basically Zen and Goku featured in it and fought against Super Saiyan Blue. Goku, that was a representation somewhat of the Dragon Ball Super Goku. It's not exactly the same as the mainstream canon version of Dragon Ball Super Goku, but you could call it an alternate adaptation of Dragon Ball Super Goku.
Am I missing something here? That's not the same Goku from Goku Super? Are you sure? I mean, I don't know. But let's say that it's not. Let's say that Shane here is correct, and that is not the same Goku from Goku Super. but it's an incarnation of him, then I could lowball Xenu Goku based on him. I'm not going to do that in this video. There's two things to consider. One, maybe he was really holding back against this Goku. And two, the feats that you presented for him should be what is took into consideration, not this lowball, but a much weaker Goku that you said that he could one-shot. He kind of had a bit of a standoff with.
Is not just a threat to the multiverse within the Dragon Ball Heroes game, is actually a threat to the outside world. This was stated in an article for the game itself. What they mean by this is affect the outside world where Beat lives, where he plays the arcade game Dragon Ball Heroes, which means the world where Beat lives is literally an even higher existence than that of the 5th dimension, meaning it would be a 6th dimensional plane. And I may have failed to mention, I know I didn't really, but Super Saiyan Zeno Goku defeated this super demigra that literally was a threat not just to the realm but to the beings in that realm in a 6th dimension. That will...
Yeah, man, that's kind of crazy. That's pretty impressive. This would make him very high 6th dimensional to be able to do these things. And this isn't even his max. Xenu vs. Goku has amazing power. I don't think there's any denying that.
As a Super Saiyan's attacking potency at least 6th dimensional. Main source for Dragon Ball characters' powers is Ki. Ki in the Dragon Ball world is a metaphysical energy that has never been stated to have any dimensional boundaries in terms of destructive capacity.
Let me guess, this one counts, right? Pre-Crisis Superman burst the bounds of infinity, but that doesn't count. However, this one clearly counts, right? Okay, he has Xenu Goku winning. I totally see his point. Again, I think a case could be made for Strange Visitor Superman, but even with what I said about making duplicates of himself, to be quite honest, I don't know if that would do Strange Visitor Superman any good. However, I would like to, in the closing statement here, I'd like to create another perspective for this battle. What if we scaled Strange Visitor Superman just like Dragon Ball fans scale characters? Strange Visitor Superman entered the 5th dimension the same way that 5th dimensional imps do, by saying his name backwards. This would imply that he was reaching the powers of 5th dimensional imps, and we have seen Mitzi and Batmate fight each other with galaxies in their hands. Imperial Joker could destroy universes just with thought. And we've seen him create realities, and we've seen him bring the dead back to life. And these are feats that, you know, are 5th dimensional. And if they're this powerful, and Strange Visitor Superman crossed into a realm that would even potentially kill them, he has grown in powers. He's evolved from those powers. I think, does this necessarily mean that Strange Visitor Superman would win? Probably not. But if we scale him from this perspective and we look at it in this way, this may very well be an interesting contest. But he has Xenu Goku win, and I completely get that. This was educational for me. I am impressed by Xenu Goku's power. In the near future, I want to make one more video, just summing all this up and giving some final thoughts about this. But I had really fun reviewing all this. It was a lot of fun. So, yeah, peace out.